where am I? Where can I go? And almost build a foundation of where they can really tap into to see where they're at.
Yeah, absolutely. So glad that you had Patrick on. He co-hosts the Hanu Health podcast. We do all the Q&As together. Patrick and I are close friends. He has built a lot of stuff into our application for Hanu with Oxygen Advantage. So glad you had him on. So, what's really cool about our autonomic nervous system, but also to our physiology in general, is that it is there as a means of signaling awareness of when things are going right or when things are going wrong. So one of the key things that we know is that when we are experiencing stress, we will actually change the mechanics of breathing. That is a primary thing that happens. So what does that actually look like? So when we're relaxed, even if we're not exercising volition, breathing tends to be, number one, slower. Number two, it tends to work differently in regards to mechanics. So we actually breathe a little bit more lower within the lower part of our lungs. We exercise the diaphragm a little bit more. And then the biggest thing would be a slowing of rate. So most individuals, especially adults, will breathe at a cadence or a rate of as low as 12 breaths per minute up to about 16. This is when the autonomic nervous system is just operating and you're not thinking about it at all. When we get stressed, we see those rates go up. So if your normal breathing rate, let's say, is 14, we'll start to see it go up to 16, to 17, and to 18 breaths per minute. So the cadence tends to be a lot faster when people are stressed. And that's because the heart is beating faster, heart rate variability is lowering, and then therefore too, the signal can come from heart rate alone, or it can come from our respiratory rate goes up, and that then increases heart rate. So these kind of can work in tandem. And the other thing too is that we see that the mechanics change from that low, slow type of breathing that we're engaged in when we're relaxed to it comes up thoracically. So from the chest, or even for some people who are experiencing like panic attacks, it comes clavically. So that's here kind of from the collarbone or in the shoulders, and you'll see them, right? They'll actually be breathing heavy from the chest, or their shoulders will be kind of moving up and down. And that's not something that you see unless somebody either has really dysfunctional breathing or something like asthma, or they're really, really stressed. So that's a huge signal right there. Like you can just tap into like your breathing and just check in. And that comes back to, again, this level of interoception. So the more and more you practice mindful awareness and you identify when you're stressed, the more you can see like, how is it manifesting in the body? Is my respiration rate going up? You can measure that, but you can also too, just measure it, subjectively check in like, oh yeah, I'm breathing pretty fast. Heart rate, is heart rate going up compared to your normal baseline? Maybe you operate typically at 70 beats per minute. And when you're stressed, it's up at, 85, 90 or so, or maybe even higher for some people. Like those are things that you should look at. So those are my two key components as I look at how are people breathing in regards to cadence, what kind of mechanism are they using? So like, are they actually like breathing clavically, like up in the shoulders from the, chest, or are they breathing low and slow? And then also to heart rate. And then I have people really learn to kind of tune into heart rate, because you don't need, a wearable like Hanu or OURA or something else or Garmin in order to tell you how fast you're breathing. It can be quite helpful. I own a company, so obviously I want people to like check with biometrics, but also too, just learning to check in kind of with the pace of the heart and pace of the breath, something that can be really incredibly important in the moment. Did that answer your question?
It did. Respiratory, any other signs and symptoms, temperature, just something that people can have a look at in terms of what's happening from a stress point of view.
Absolutely. So one of the greatest ways of assessing the sympathetic arousal is actually through what was called the galvanic skin response. So the galvanic skin response is actually looking at glabrous skin, especially. So that's without hair is what I refer to when I talk about glabrous skin. That can be in the hands, can be on the forehead, can be on the bottoms of the feet, and it can also be tongue, but we really look at hands, feet, forehead. And that's how much are we sweating? So we can actually measure that, or you can just check in. Like, does it feel like we're getting heated up kind of in this glabrous skin, or which would actually be more indicative of somebody who's relaxed when the hands and the feet get warm, or are we starting to sweat and the hands are getting cold? It's a really interesting phenomena. So when someone is really, really nervous, their palms may get really sweaty, but they feel like they're freezing. And that's because all of the blood will shunt from the hands or the peripheries to the heart, to the brain, and to the lungs, because during a stress response, those are the key organs that we need operating at 100% efficiency. We don't need digestion working well. We don't need a lot of blood in our hands and our feet. We need our brain to work. We need our heart to work. We need our lungs to work. And that's kind of bastardizing it a little bit, but that's really what we're looking for. So that's temperature. So you can actually measure. And that's one of the things that we do in biofeedback. You can put a thermistor or a thermometer on the finger, and you can look to see, like, compared to your normal rate, like, is it dropping? For men, you want to get it around 95 degrees. And for women, you want to get it around 93, 92 degrees. They're a little bit lower. And that can be a great representation. So you can buy like a thermistor off of like Amazon, like it's called the, I think, stress thermometer. It's a really cool device, and you can kind of just use it to check. And then also too, like, how much are you perspiring from your hands? How much are you perspiring in general is a really great mechanism. So there's a lot of really cool biometrics that you can use for that, or you can just check in. Hands and feet, are they cold or are they warm? Am I sweating? And then also too, what's my heart rate doing? What's my breathing doing?